Moses stands as a towering figure in the Bible, revered by many for his unwavering faith and leadership. He was chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, a monumental task that required immense courage and trust in divine guidance. God parted the Red Sea through Moses, demonstrating his power and love for his people, ensuring their safe passage from bondage to freedom. For 40 years Moses guided the Israelites through the wilderness, facing numerous trials and tribulations along the way. He delivered God's laws to them and interceded on their behalf, acting as a mediator between God and his people. Moses was a faithful servant, leading with strength and compassion, always putting the needs of his people first. Moses' life and leadership were marked by God's presence and guidance, a constant reminder of the divine mission he was entrusted with. He spoke to God directly, receiving instructions and wisdom, which he faithfully conveyed to the Israelites. He was a beacon of hope for the Israelites, reminding them of God's promises and encouraging them to stay faithful. Moses' journey was long and arduous, filled with challenges and triumphs, yet he never wavered in his mission. Yet through it all he remained a testament to God's faithfulness, a shining example of unwavering devotion and leadership. As the Israelites journeyed through the vast and unforgiving desert, they faced numerous trials and tribulations that tested their faith and resilience. One such significant trial occurred at a place called Meribah, a name that would be etched in their collective memory. The people were extremely thirsty and desperate for water, their parched throats crying out for relief. In their desperation they grumbled loudly against Moses, questioning his leadership and doubting God's provision for their needs. In this critical moment of crisis, God instructed Moses to speak to a specific rock, promising that water would miraculously flow from it. Water would flow abundantly from it, quenching the intense thirst of the Israelites and providing much-needed relief. However, overcome with deep frustration and anger at the people's constant complaints, Moses disobeyed God's clear command. Instead of speaking to the rock as instructed, he struck it twice with his staff in a moment of anger. Miraculously, water still gushed out, satisfying the people's thirst and providing them with the water they so desperately needed. But Moses' impulsive actions had dire and far-reaching consequences. He had disobeyed God's specific instructions, an act that revealed a momentary lapse in his trust and obedience. This act of disobedience had profound spiritual implications, revealing a lack of trust in God's power and a failure to uphold his commands. God's holiness demands our complete obedience. When God gives a command, it is not a suggestion but a divine decree. Our obedience reflects our trust in his wisdom and authority. Moses, despite his close relationship with God, was held accountable for his disobedience. God's judgment served as a reminder that no one is above his commands. God's judgment, though seemingly harsh, was an act of love. It demonstrated the seriousness of disobedience and the importance of honoring him. It also highlighted the significance of leadership. As leaders, our actions have a profound impact on those we lead. By holding Moses accountable, God taught a timeless lesson about the weight of leadership and the importance of obedience. A legacy marred by disobedience. Because of his disobedience at Meribah, Moses was not allowed to enter the Promised Land. He had led the Israelites for 40 years, yet he would not experience the fulfillment of God's promise. This served as a stark reminder that even a single act of disobedience can have lasting consequences. Despite this tragic end, Moses' legacy remains one of greatness. He is remembered as a prophet, a leader, and a lawgiver. His life and writings continue to inspire and guide us today. Moses' story teaches us about God's faithfulness, the importance of obedience, and the power of redemption. Learning from Moses. A timeless message. We can learn valuable lessons from Moses' life, both from his triumphs and his failures. His journey from a prince of Egypt to a humble shepherd, and finally to the leader of the Israelites, is filled with moments that teach us about resilience, faith, and the power of divine guidance. His story reminds us that God can use ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Moses was not perfect, he had his doubts and made mistakes, yet he was chosen to lead a nation. This shows that our imperfections do not disqualify us from being used by God. We are called to trust in God's plan, even when we don't understand it. Just as Moses trusted God to part the Red Sea and provide manna in the desert, we too must have faith in God's provision and timing. Most importantly, we must strive to live lives of obedience, seeking to honor God in all we do. Obedience to God's commands was a cornerstone of Moses' leadership, and it should be the foundation of our lives as well. Moses' life, though marked by both victory and defeat, points us to the faithfulness of God. His experiences remind us that God is always with us, guiding us through our own wildernesses and leading us to our promised lands. His story reminds us that God's grace is sufficient, even in our moments of weakness. When we feel inadequate or overwhelmed, we can find strength in God's unwavering support and love. Let us learn from Moses' example, seeking to live lives of obedience, humility, and unwavering faith in God's promises. By doing so, we can navigate our own journeys with the same courage and conviction that Moses displayed. Subscribe, like, and share.